will you go? You go where there's six. Yeah. So my brother political is back. Yeah. Yeah. So I might say I'm very categorical on what I'm saying, and I usually do it with a lot of respect. I'm somebody who love peace because I know the value of that peace. You know, I was in Kisumu in 2007. Yeah. When the peaceful environment was disturbed. And after that, I came to know its value. What value does peace have in my life, even in the environment where I live? Very peaceful, you know. So that's what I can say. Maybe let me wait for other members of the panel to talk, then I will come in.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming up. Lala, I know you're next, but I just want to throw this one out of there because the way he said it, because I believe it's about time we start talking the truth. This is not gonna, let me actually shorten it up a little bit, but here we go. Let me just play this video a little bit. Ameitaja, and it's been hitting people because we need to go back to look at these things, and if we don't look at them, kitaturamba na kishaturamba. Yeah, this is it.
She lived for the Kenyan environment. She lived for the trees and the rivers. Nobel Peace Laureate Wangari Maathai fought hard and often was humiliated trying to save Kenya's parks and forests from the jaws of land grabbers keen to put up prime real estate, including skyscrapers. Uhuru Park stands out as one of the saved public spaces. It was no easy battle for Wangari Maathai as the ruling party KANU in 1989 wanted to put up a 60-story skyscraper right at the heart of the park to house the headquarters of the Kenya Times newspaper. Despite KANU's power during the single-party era, Maathai fought and saved Uhuru Park. Dignity Gardens, where a march in her honor began today, was one such space too, another garden saved by Kenya's environmental protection queen.
The reason that it was saved was certainly public, the court of public opinion, not so much the courts, because at that time it was not, there was no provision in the constitution for a member of the public to protect a green space.
Did you always understand what she was trying to do for the country?
No, I never did. I always worried. We worried sometimes about her safety, but we never quite understood the profundity of what she was doing, and certainly the how aware she was about what she was doing.
Tell me one incident that you felt, no, Mama has got to stop doing this.
Karura Forest. Karura Forest was one of the most difficult times for us. We were away from the country, but we would see images, and especially that very famous confrontation with armed thugs, as I call them, who were stopping them from entering the forest. And I remember my mother trying so hard to explain that, forests are our lives. They couldn't have cared less about what she was saying. You could see in their faces, and I think every time I watched that footage, you could see in the bitterness in the eyes of these young people. They were ready to shoot some arrows, and we all just hoped that, good Lord, that if we ever were to lose Mommy, it would have been in a place like that.
If you're going to shed blood because of our land, you will. We are used to that. Our forefathers shed blood for our land. We will do so. This is my blood.
It took time for them to understand the sacrifice their mother was making, a difference in her own way. Perhaps she should have told them the story of the hummingbird and the huge forest fire.
It says, I'm going to do something about the fire. So it flies to the nearest stream, takes a drop of water, and puts it on the fire, and goes up and down, up and down, up and down as fast as it can. In the meantime, all the other animals, much bigger animals like the elephant with a big trunk, could bring much more water. They are standing there helpless, and they are saying to the hummingbird, "What do you think you can do? You're too little. This fire is too big. Your wings are too little. And you're big, so small. You can only bring a small drop of water at a time." But as they continue to discourage it, it turns to them without wasting any time and tells them, "I am doing the best I can." And that, to me, is what all of us should do.
To celebrate this legacy, My Little Thing is a campaign geared towards provoking Kenyans to do their part, no matter how little.
One of my little things is making sure that we reduce the amount of kitchen waste that we produce, and we compost what we can, we recycle what we can, and then what goes to the trash is minimal. Because even though our trash leaves our kitchens and our trash bins, it goes somewhere. And most of us think it goes away. But where is away? I envision my mother sitting somewhere and wondering if she were to come back and she would look at us and say, "Are you still where I left you?" I would love for her to be able to say, "Wow, you created something new and exciting." So this is something new and exciting in tribute to her, but it is certainly something she didn't leave behind. The Greenbelt movement continues. It's changing. It's growing.
Soon, a museum to celebrate the legacy of the late Professor Wangari Maathai and safeguard the footprints she left behind will be opened. For Citizen Live at 1, I am Anne Mawade.
Okay. There. I think it says for itself. Mr. Lala, what do you have?
Asante, Kenya with Love, Brother Benson, Political Genome, Maandamano Kamili na wenzetu wote. I think siku kama hii kwa sisi kama wa Kenya to reflect on our great lady Wangari Maathai. I think it's important for us to, first of all, remember her. And I think the first point is that she was brave. If there's a problem that we have as Kenyans, is that we are timid, we are fearful. And as long as we are fearful and not bold enough to take the challenges ahead of us, we're always going to fall short. I spent some time to look at two documentaries today on Haiti and Madagascar. These are the two poorest. Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and Madagascar is the other poorest countries. And both of them were looking at the judiciary system of both countries. In Haiti, we have a prison with over, really should be housing less than 500 people, but there are over 4,000. And people are dying practically every day. They are even animals in the West cannot live like those people that I saw. They stay there for even 10 years. No charges brought to them. And the law says they're supposed to be there in 48 hours, taken to court. But here there are people who have been there for the last 10 years. And you see them like skeleton. I think the thing is YouTube, you can Google it. And you see the court officials who are hardly there. They have got no files on these people. These are just forgotten people that are dying in those cells. And then you look at the history of Haiti, a place that was once the proud, probably leading Black nation on the face of the earth. For some reason, justice disappeared, and people, like most of us, we have learned to be afraid and fearful. But Wangari Maathai was not afraid to take on Ruto and the Kanu and everyone else. Nothing will stop her. And I pray that Kenyans can capture the spirit of this great lady, because without being bravery, we are heading nowhere. And for Madagascar, it was the same issue with judiciary. You find people in prison, underage kids, with just nothing. As long as you got the money, you can buy justice. And it is the laws and that bring a country. If we can't uphold the rule of law, we'll have no democracy, we'll have no development. We'll be like Haiti and these countries that I watched. And Wangari could not live to see Kenya go that route. And that's why we herald her. She was abused by those people, but the world remember her. Some of those people, nobody would ever remember them. Even Moi himself, only in Kenya we might remember Moi, but Maathai is known all over the world. She's an icon. So her name, her legacy lives. And these people are full of themselves. You know, their legacy will just end very quickly. And so we must be bold. Boldness means that we uphold the law. We don't accept anything less than what Constitution wants. And I say it, let me say it again and again and again and again. Kenyans, till we begin to respect our Constitution, the rule of law, I'm telling you, we are heading the Haiti way. I've got many friends from Haiti. Some are here, the professionals and others. When I bring the subject of Haiti, they change the topic very quickly. Because these are people who have been traumatized. They can't head back, they can't go back to Haiti because of the pain they went through. And it all starts the way we allow Moi, we allowed Moi, but of course there are people who came forward and challenged him, but now we are letting Ruto do it. Ruto to me is not my president. I'm sorry to say that. We use that term a lot. But I think if we were brave enough, when we were not sure, that day when it was declared the president, if we were not sure, all of us should have said no till you prove to us how you got there. But you know what? We accept things and have this wishful thinking that things are going to change without us getting involved. Wangari was involved. She went through the abuse and the pain, you know, and until we now our children, we can teach our children about this woman. I don't think any child will be called Ruto or anyone. You know, I happen to a community that love to herald leaders. That's why I come from Nyanza myself. Today I disclose, for some of you don't know that. But we have names everywhere. We have Jomo Kenyatta. A lot of Kenyatta, our relatives are called Kenyatta because he stood for something. We have other friends, Karaoke and others. We We named these people because the people stood for something. And so people like Ruto, people like Mudavadi, I think as I saw something today where he's talking of supporting Ruto. And then there was a list of appointments that basically come from one area in Kenya. And I decided to put those two together. If you've seen, put those two together. Here supporting Ruto, and then the list of the Kalenjins that are holding offices, which is even dangerous to the Kalenjin community themselves, who should denounce the appointment only from one place into government. And so the contrast between Ruto and Wangari Maathai is so big. You cannot compare, with this small weight. There's people called Kenya Kwisha, Kenya Uda, whatever you call them. They are short-sighted. They are not up to the task. They can't lead. And the sad thing is that we are not condemning. We are not doing something to get them out when actually we know they have gone against the Constitution, and they keep on doing it over and over again, and they don't care about us. If Wangari Maathai was living today, you know exactly where she would have been. Perhaps on the street. Not perhaps, but she will be on the street because she loved the country. She loved our nature. She loved our trees. She loved our land. And she gave us a roadmap to winning our victories, and that is to confront those systems that are anti-Kenya. And so I think it's a great lady. Her legacy continues, but we must capture her spirit and show the young people that Kenya is worth dying for and saving. What I saw in those documentary is countries where if you're good, then you get nothing. You stay in prison. If you're poor, your child would just be taken to prison and they stay there forever because the system is broken. And Ruto is doing exactly that, where he's the one to talk and he's the one to do things. He is basically following the roadmap of Mackenzie. Mackenzie gave people promises. Those people who went to Shakahola, they were given promise of heaven. They were going there to change their life. They are going there to experience a new beginning, not knowing they are going to die. And Kenyans are going that way till we do something. But if we wait for him to do something, he's not going to do anything. It's just you and me to do something. And I pray that Kenyans can be together, let's follow the spirit of Wangari Maathai and save our nation. Thank you, guys. Somebody else can come in.
Thank you, Mr. Lala. And lest we forget, everybody, thank you a lot. Mama, you're coming next. I like what you're talking, because there's a question I always ask, and Brother Benson almost asked that question. I don't know why he went very shy of saying asking that question. Where is the Wangari Maathais of today? Where is the Wahengas of today? Where is these people that actually went ahead of us and actually fought for things that we need to do? And is the reason I respect people like us, and I'm not myself, don't put me in it, but people like even Brother Benson, who would go and actually take his time to even interrogate those MCAs and those people down there. I mean, not down there, they're big people, and actually tell them, can you come and tell us what it is happening? Because he's the professor, Wangari Maathai of today. Mama Mary, Mami, you're the Wangari Maathai of today. That you can actually, Lala, you're those people because you guys actually interrogate the society and the social fabric of our society. And once you do that, then actually it puts people on their toes. Here, this is another guy. Before Mom, you come in. Here's another guy, and I just want you to listen what he's talking about. Maybe it might not relate to Wangari Maathai, and then Mom, you're gonna come in, and then we'll circle back with Nani and Jiru, and then we go back to Brother Benson. Me, I'm not talking too much. Mimi tu nawachezea video. I just want to mniambie tu venye mna relate hizi vitu. These are people that actually went ahead of our country. What is this generation going to be remembered of?
Oh,
Well, it is pretty obvious that the British and Belgian governments have been very much involved in the conspiracy in the secession of Katanga. It appears to us, those of us who have looked at the Katanga situation, that the British and Belgian governments, including the French government to some extent, and Portugal, are very much interested in safeguarding the various interests, financial and business interests, mining interests in Katanga, rather than in the protection and safeguarding of the national security and unity of the Congolese people.
Now, sir, you as a leading Pan-Africanist have always objected to foreign interference in Africa. Now, wouldn't you say that the United Nations campaign against Katanga and against Mr. Shombe amounted to foreign interference?
Not at all. On the contrary, the United Nations was invited to the Congo by the central government. The United Nations did not intervene until invited. And at present, they are acting in the Congo, firstly, on the advice of the African states at the United Nations, and secondly, on the advice and in consultation and cooperation with the central government of the Congo. Our criticism has been that the United Nations has been restrained too much in its actions in Katanga by world powers. That again includes Britain, Belgium, France, who do not wish to see United Nations take decisive action, again because they wish to protect their interests, the interests which are behind Shombe's secessionist tactics.
Do you see any future for Mr. Shombe in the Congo Unified Government?
That very well depends. At the moment, most of us think of him as a crook whose word can never be trusted, but the future should be left to the Congolese people themselves.
Enyewe ukiona hao watu alafu unaangalia viongozi wa Kenya 2023 na hiyo ni karibu 1960, enyewe unaona bwana, masomo isaidii.
Kila mtu ameanguka kwa hiyo kisawa. Njiri, yani hata umetingisha kichwa, hata Brian anaona Brother Benson huko pia.
Hata Orengo hawezi fika hiyo level. Orengo hawezi fika hiyo coherence.
Mommy, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Kenyan with Love, Njiro, Lala and Benson na wote ambao wanatusikiza. Yeah, I'm back with the query that Olara said that I don't know whether he said imperialistic, because I tried to bring the story of Ethiopia, but I don't know why he didn't wait for me to go to the point which I was bringing. You know, it's sad in Africa that we have got many poor people. The majority of Africans are very, very poor. And they are the people who these politicians run to for their candidacy so that they can be elected. And when you look at how the poor people are galvanized, put together to act, to help somebody rise to a certain stage so that he can achieve his goal and live a very luxurious life while forgetting the people who put him there, they need some help or some development to support their living, but they are forgotten for how long it can be. Why I spoke about Haile Selassie? You know, there are people who are leaders. While they are in leadership, they are building themselves. They are trying to look for strong roots, how they can retain themselves there, even if it's forever. Why I brought Haile Selassie is because Haile Selassie, at some point, he had a very good intention of having African unity or union. He was involved in it. But to come to the other side, he had forgotten his people. And his people, afterwards, they lived in a very poor situation. Until when, it's a long story, but I'll give it in short. Until when the military seized him when he was an emperor. And when he was seized, he had to insult this military as much as he could while he was put in this bungalow military vehicle and taken to a different place, not to the big palace. While he was being carried away, the crowd that was, you know, like they were aware that this has happened. They saw him and they shouted, "Thief, thief." Why I was trying to relate the story of Haile Selassie and what we have in Kenya is that we have seen Ruto trying to be like a Pan-Africanist, as well as Haile Selassie was involved in those African Union, like a Pan-Africanist. But when you think about what his people is going through, and outside he's trying to portray himself like an angel for his people, like he's a good person, just the same as Ruto does. Ruto, you have seen him when he has gone out of our country, Kenya. Anaenda huko anatoa hotuba ambayo anapewa ovation. Watu wanampigia makofi vile wamefurahishwa na hiyo speech yake ama vile amesoma hiyo makaratasi yake huwa anabeba. So when you see that picture and you relate with what Kenyans are going through, it's a two divided person, very different person. But the outsiders would see like that man, really, if that is the way he behaves and that is the way he speaks, how about when he's in his country? How about his people? They love him. Of course, they should love him because look at him, the way he's behaving, the way he's talking. He has got points. He goes to the point whereby really we understand what he's talking about. But are we really related to this guy? It is hard for Kenyans to believe that this guy can go outside, do such kind of speech, and when he comes back to the country, that is when he say nitakusafirisha binguni, nitatumia hii si ya kukata mboga. So you see, these are people who are somehow the same, because Haile Selassie, he was one of those. His people were poor. He was transporting or taking money out of the country abroad. leaving the people languishing in poverty and hunger. Those are the things, the points that I was trying to relate Haile Selassie and with this guy, because they try to cover who they are, they try to cover where they are coming from, and show the outside world that I'm good on this, and they want to portray that that is the same way he does in his country, only to find that look at the way now BBC and Al Jazeera took the news and exposed this guy. If only these news um, broadcasters didn't say anything outside, the world will be seeing Kenya like a bed of roses whereby people are enjoying life, people are happy because their president is so eloquent. He does very good things. He talks very nice. That is the life I was trying to portray between Ruto and Haile Selassie, because these are conniving people. They know how to camouflage themselves to keep them safe from the world, and that the world will look at them as they are good people and they can lead, they have got potential, they have got ideas. Those are the people that are really very dangerous, because we may be crying in our own country, but nobody will know that we are suffering or we are going through pain and suffering or being tortured. Those are the points I was trying to bring between Ethiopia and Kenya, because that guy and the guy we have in our country, it's almost the same, because Haile Selassie took long time, but he knew he was building himself, and then he all of a sudden changed, became a different person. That is my point, and that is my take. I hope everybody understands where I'm coming from. It's about Haile Selassie. It's a long story, but so many contradicting stories in there. But that is what I took out of what I understood. Asanteni sana kwa kunisikiliza. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That huwa naitwa nani? Mentu Hotep 2. You've stolen something that people do not understand. That first of all, we had pictures of him in the Arab Emirates with the son-in-law. And I need to tell mimi wakitaka wanifunge. I don't care. Bro, acha kucheka, brother Benson. I can see you're laughing about it because you know it's the truth. Yeah, we know. We've seen them with MBS. And we've also seen the son-in-law. We know who the son-in-law is. We've seen this. Huyu mwenye amesema, I don't know if it's a lady or a man, but amesema, si mimi nimesema, akiumwa ataumwa peke yake huko. But moving on, because I want you to come in after you come in and then Lala comes in. But leo mtanichukia, leo nitawachapa reality check. Brother Benson, you're coming next. Let me see if I can play this one. We have to talk the reality of this nation, of what is happening in our country. All right, here we go. When we had, I mean, I've come to really start thinking of Moi like a good person, just because of this stupidity that is happening. Not necessarily about Ruto, just about what is happening with our country today. Just okay, what happened here?
Effective. Very appropriate, we should. Kenya government, I urge all our countrymen to reflect calmly on all that has occurred to understand all the cold and pitiless motives and expectation of forces that have been at work. I call on all Kenyans to stand together in defense of our nationalism and all that we fought for and have built with our faith and our sweat. For without such understanding and resolve, our people may suffer simply through being manipulated like puppets on a string.
A South African spy was interviewed and claimed that South Africans might have had something to do with the assassination of Mr. Mboya. You have commented on this, I know.
I commented last night, and I would like to repeat the same thing, that we have no knowledge of this, and I cannot definitely say anything that affects a sister state which is their responsibility.
To help us in the task.
On the bottom of page 5 and also in page 2, in the next to the last paragraph, to make it fairly clear that the implication is that it was neither tribal nor personal, but apparently to support an alien ideology. Now, does this suggest that if it isn't South Africa, that you're looking toward support from some other country which sponsored the assassination?
No, I would, as I said, let us all avoid speculation. I don't want to prejudice the cases sub judice, and I don't want to go anything that would block the way in this matter.
Brother Benson.
Yes.
The floor is all yours, my
you
friend.
know,
Naona kuchokoza na kuguzaguza because we're on your side.
Let me tell you one thing. You know, if you want to know how Kenya we've lost the precious jewel was the death of Tom Mboya. That was something that we lost because Tom Mboya was one person who was ahead of his peers in terms of politics and even in terms of reasoning. You know, voice of reasoning was his peers could not match him. So that is one thing. And like if you compare Tom Mboya with the leaders that we have today, I don't think there's a leader who can match Tom Mboya. You know, that is one. Go again, look at the life of JM Karaoke. You know, these are Kenyans that you would love to associate with because for what they stood for. Yeah. For what they like when you even try to read their history and listen to their speeches, they were concerned about whole Kenyan. It was about Kenya. It was not a kind of like somebody who is kind of like individual. And I would come to Pastor Lala. Pastor Lala has talked about what should we do, you know, and I don't think like sometimes you've come and interrogate yourself and ask yourself very dear question to you, is this the country that I would love? Yeah, as a person, as Kenya, is this the country that I would love? And is this the country is this the way I want it to be? And the things that have contributed to where we are today, there are so many things, even about leadership, you know, the politician, you know, Kenyans, the Kenya population, especially the voters, they're the best people on earth. I always say this. If you want to know the Kenyan in us, wait until disaster strikes. Wait until that time. That is when you will see that the majority of Kenyans.
Bomb blast.
Yeah, wait, look at the bomb blast, what happened. It is not all about what tribe or what tribe. Look at that. Remember the days when you go to Uruma, the building would collapse, and you will see all Kenyans from walks of life will come The leaders will come and give those press, but the common Kenyans, wale walalahoi, hao ndio wanapigana, wanataka hizi vitu zitoke, wanataka kutoa watu. Tena wanalia, ukiangalia hata mtu analia, ajui hata uwe jira, ajui mtu amefinywa huko ndani ni nani. Yeah? But what has contributed to where we are is about leadership. And if you're very keen, I just want to bring you to history. Let us just have this conversation very keenly. If you're very keen, you look at politics of Kenya is about musical chairs. Nile mnapangwa hivi. I can give you history. There were days when President Ruto was darling to the Luo nation. He was. Yeah. And he was loved. I don't know whether during the ODM, when the ODM was ODM, you can remember those days. You know, he was darling and he was loved.
When he came up with the cape, when they were fighting the thing with the PNU, was it what they were fighting on? Pale, was it? It was KICC,
yeah,
where he came up with the kofia, the infamous kofia.
Yeah. And hata wakati walikuwa nataka kutoa Moi, you know, and you know, you look at it, yeah, and there was a way in which it was played until like everybody was at peace, and he was. But when disagreement came, the realignment came, you know, remember when Mudavadi left the coalition, and where he was gone politically, nobody knew that Mudavadi exists. Baba went and picked him. Yeah. And when Mudavadi was picked, you know, he was loved. But I'm telling you that the politics is about musical chairs, whereby it is changing, you know. And if indeed Kenya need to change, the people who will change Kenya are the wananchi, not leaders. And this, you will agree with me. Because even if you look at our politics, we don't have something that we stand for. Mato, you know, like there's, when you look at Republican, they are the conservatives and the far right and the far left. There are those that we do have. We don't have that one in our country. And look at even the formation that happened in 2022. Who would have thought that the former president and the right honorable prime minister would be friends? Who would have thought? Yeah. And who would have thought that Mudavadi would go and be with President Ruto?
But Benson, as you're going, the floor is all yours. I'm just actually now I'm Kora. Don't you think the Constitution is the one that is supposed to change us, not us?
But the Constitution is there, but who are the implementers? Who? If the leaders themselves, they don't respect it, how will it work?
If the leaders
themselves, they don't respect it, how will it work?
Lala, I think you're listening from two different devices.
Yeah, two different devices. Yeah.
Lala, I think you're listening from two different devices.
Oh, yeah, two different devices. Or Mato, what do you think? Because like I'm just asking myself as a Kenyan, I don't want to say that I'm affiliating to this, but I just want to ask myself as a Kenyan, even if you look at the politics, all the political leaders, even the president, the right honorable Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, these people, they've been in this politics for so long. But what happens when they take their sides? What is left for the common Kenyans? What is left? If this Kenya was to be fixed, we could have fixed Kenya a long time ago, because the people in the realm of leadership are the still people who are there. I'm just asking as a Kenyan. I'm just asking as a Kenyan.
I'm gonna ask you with I'm gonna answer you with a question.
Yeah.
That studio of yours, you've been with a lot of people there, and one thing I gotta give kudos to the Luo Nation. Luo Nation, without the Luo Nation, Kenya would have never been there. Na hata mpenda mkimbie mfanye nini, without the Luo Nation, it would have never been there. That is where the politics actually comes from. You've engaged most of the people down there and even had the MCAs come there. You tell me, what do you think? And that's why I told you, I'm going to answer you with a question. Of all these people that you encounter, and these people that you sit down with them and actually talk to them and ask them, what do you get out of that? What do you think it is? Don't forget about Kamba, forget about the other tribes. Today I asked somebody how many tribes in Kenya constitute to the political system. Somebody could not even do 10, right? Because it came down to Kamba, I don't know, Luo. You are here. I mean, we couldn't even do 11 or 10. So now, when you talk to these people, what is it that you get from them that you hear that is not, and the social fabric of Kenya that actually, and put yourself in the Nubis, put yourself in the Giriama, put yourself in the Taita Taveta, in the all those other tribes that we call ourselves, we are 46 or 47, 48. What? Put yourself into that, knowing that the people that you talk to are people in power, but they are one of the biggest biggest tribes that actually make a design of our social fabric and our social geopolitical fabric. So what do they tell you and what do you get from it? I want you to educate us, not for you to try to educate you, because you've talked to these guys, you've spoken to them.
You know, Kenya with the love. There are so many things that come out, because like basically what I'm doing, I'm just trying to look at the political aspect and the leadership. You know, that is what I'm trying to look at. But so many issues comes out. One, I can tell you, I don't know whether you will agree with me. Our politics is a transactional politics. By transactional politics is politics about money. You might get a good leader, somebody who can lead and can kind of like solve the challenges, a little bit solve the challenges that people are going through, but he doesn't have money. That guy sometimes might not be elected. I'm telling you.
Can I step in?
Yeah.
Brother Benson. Thank you for that contribution, and Brother Kenya with love. I think the issue with leadership is that our leaders have never tried to follow the Constitution, and they've never put the nation first. It's really about themselves, their interests, and that is why we are here talking about these issues. You see, Kenya was an experiment of
Lala, do we need to go back and define a leader?
No, let me just finish my thought here. Kenya was an experiment that other African countries were doing at the same time, where different nations, Kamba nations, Kikuyu nation, Luo nations, assumed to have agreed to have one central power, which is the president, and based on those parties. And Kenyatta, the very first president, betrayed us. We can contrast Kenyan situation with Tanzania, where they had Nyerere. Nyerere put the nation first. So all these tribes were able now to see their interest in that one person called Nyerere. In other words, they were not giving up anything. They were actually gaining as groups, as tribes. So there was that trust that allowed them to define themselves as Tanzania. And so that kind of broke the barriers between Tanzanians. Kenyans, the selfish interest took that trust away from us. And when the central figure is not trustworthy in terms of the way they governed, they disputed power and resources, that simply brought in a mistrust. As when there's a mistrust or people don't trust one another, then what Benson mentioned, it becomes, money. In other words, what do I get instead of what does the country get? So that kind of created the problem. And I think when we talk about love for the nation, we talk about it, Kenyans talk about it when they have a little money in their pocket, when they are given a handout, instead of looking at the entire nation together. And this is why we need a central person like Baba. Baba was not because he's a Luo or he's somebody else, whatever, but Baba because of his sacrifices, where all other tribes, every group can be able to say, this man gave it all for the nation. And so you could actually see Baba as a stronger foundation that can win trust of everyone else, so that when Baba gets out of the picture, then me and Mato will have a roadmap, that means a place to base our politics on. In other words, it's not going to be about this group or that group, it's about us as a nation. And that way, our constitution is given that strength and power, because right now, what I saw in those documentary on Haiti is like the laws are there, but who cares? Like Madagascar, the laws are there, who cares? So, and what I saw there is even animals in the U.S. don't live like those prisoners, and those people have laws. Even the worst of your enemy, you don't put them in such kind of horrible place. They are not even human. And you see, our conscience are so seared that we see people getting abused, or we don't care. Looking at the list of Ruto's appointment from Kalenjin, it's scary, because we're not building a country. And Kalenjin should reject it and say, no, we want all Kenyans to be in the face of this government. Okay, so people like Ruto, we let them go with the murder, and then when things are bad, then we do something else, or we point a finger at somebody else. When actually, as I stated, if Kenyans are brave, if Kenyans believe in the Constitution, it's one thing to have a Constitution, but another thing to believe in it. If we really believe in that Constitution, then it is our responsibility to be able to say no, no to anything. Maybe the Luos have done more no than anybody else, and able to see the nation. Because even Wangari Maathai, you know, if it wasn't for Mboya, who brought her here to study the U.S., okay, if it wasn't for Obama, the U.S. president is Mboya. You know, Mboya was able to look at Kenya as a whole, and people came from everywhere, every part of Kenya, this Mboya airlift, to come to study, to come back and help the nation. So unless we have a leader like that, somebody who see beyond their home, their friends, their ethnicity, if we don't get such a leader, we are in big, big trouble, because we are nations that are very independent, you know, different brains, different ideas, different thoughts. And it's only love that can unite us. It's only that trust that can unite us. And when we have that trust, then we can make a lot of changes. We have a great opportunity right now because of where we are. Every group of Kenya can identify with each other. The country is in a bad shape for everyone. And it is now that all of us should be able to be brave enough to demand, just brave enough to say no to sin, no to evil, no to lawlessness, no to corruption, no to things like appointment from one place only, yet we have a nation. Ruto is every single day is doing the wrong thing. And I don't understand why we let him. The Wananchi, as you stated, you know, the Wananchi, it is us. Because if we don't, it doesn't matter. We're not looking for a leader who will be a benevolent dictator and work with us. We're looking for a constitution that is functional. Because if we have it, then we can tell anybody. We don't let them stay a single day in power when we know very well they shouldn't be there. So in some ways, I blame my fellow Kenyans. In some ways, I think we are not strong enough to demand a strict adherence to the law. And finally, as I stated, let me state it again. If Kenyans believed in their law, Ruto should not have been in power till everything is clear. Even the Supreme Court should have thought twice. But you know what? In the last two elections, we let them go with what we know is wrong, because anyone in the world will tell you something was wrong with those decisions. Now look at what's going on right now. I like Oginde, Bishop Oginde. I think he is is now the chair of the anti-corruption committee. But look at what they are doing right now. The kind of people they are following is more politics than law. It's very political. Go after Malala, go after people who Ruto does not want. So they become just wale umbwa wa Ruto instead of being independent. I don't know what it means to be independent body, because to me they're useless. They should be all disbanded under this current system. So there's no independence about anything in Kenya. It's all what Ruto wants and how he wants it and when he wants it. So judges may make decisions, but the ultimate is Ruto. And this is what the problem is. And until we as Kenyans step forward and say we own this country, this is our place, this is our land, this is for our kids, and we're willing to die for it, that's when we will make it. The US learned that at the foundation of their nation, okay? When they made the amendment, right to bear arms. And I say that all the time. Right to bear arms is not to kill thieves and people out there. The first very reason why Americans are armed, love their arms. The very reason to have guns in their home is to protect yourself against your government if they try to take away your right. It is to defend the Constitution, not to defend personal interest, but the Constitution. That's why they love these guns, okay? And so they knew that at the beginning, because when they got to the United States, a lot of them from Europe, they came from totalitarian governments. They came from governments that were, bad for democracy. So they said, here in the US, we will not bow to any government, any individual, anyone to take away our rights from us. And so they didn't have to grow, into, because a lot of people talk we are developing democracy. No, there are things that are fundamental for something called democracy. And if we don't have that, it doesn't matter how many amendments we're going to make to the Constitution. It doesn't matter how many conferences we're going to have, how many commissions we're going to have. Things will fall apart, because right now, independent, whatever entities are not independent at all. Everything collapses when Ruto, it took over, because it does what he wants when he wants it. So it is my belief that if we are not afraid, this fear, the Bible says, fear not so many times. I don't know how many times, almost 1,000 times. Fear not. And Kenyans, they're nice because they let everything go. I met a famous professor who had lived in Africa for a long time, okay, in Kenya and Zimbabwe and I think Zambia, okay. I met him in the West. So whenever there's a problem about Africa, students and others, I was in graduate school, this is the man to be consulted. And when he met me, he was so happy. He said, I like you guys, Kenyans, because you are very, very docile, very, very mild, very nice, very mannered. You don't, it's like patronizing me. It's like as if what he was saying is that we don't have a voice. We agree, we obey, we follow, we don't ask questions. And that's what exactly he was saying to me. And he used the same word. I think in Africa, at one point, he mentioned, they need benevolent dictators. Okay. And so the West, these are the people who shape the thinking of the West, in the West. Okay. And so unless we are not docile, unless we are able to stand and say, this country belongs to all of us, unless I'm a pastor, and my voice, I should not listen to people who say, you know what, oh, you can only talk in the church. No, that's for the church. You take with the Bible, yet they're stealing. If I don't point out the stealing and the corruption that's going on, if I'm not willing to lead a march, to defend the fatherless and the poor, then like Haiti, where the poor, nobody cares about them. You see them in prisons. Their families don't have money to see them there. It is the saddest thing. I was shedding tears. That's exactly what we are doing, what Ruto is doing. Right now, he's trying to ship our people to the Middle East. Do people follow up on those people where they are? No. We've seen cops, the bodies coming back from the Middle East. Government, nothing. They say nothing. The embassies do nothing. And that is, those are the people who love the country, who tell us, can lead us. They're leading us nowhere. So I agree with you, Benson. At the end of the day, we must get a leader whom we can trust. And I thought we did a very good job with Baba to an extent this time, because I believe he won. Okay? And my thinking is that if we let somebody like him, if his mind is fine, lead us, then we get a cue that Kenya's back on his feet. People can trust each other. We can do business. And that is the only way that will spark our economy, and get us out of this quagmire.
Okay, thank you, Lal. And what I don't know whether you can hear me. Thinking of Baba, You know, sometimes I really pity Baba, because the people who I don't know whether the people who surrounds Baba does not understand the Baba vision, or they don't understand the kind of person he is. I don't know, because he tries so hard to make it happen, but like the support system sometimes, I don't know whether they support him, or they are coming with another agenda. Yeah. And today, today, Mato, you're not from the lake. Today, I listened to Baba. Baba was making a story, history of Lua, and I think somebody one time should just sit Baba down and write some of the things that Baba is saying. You know, Baba is a walking library with rich in history, and nobody has ever tapped that. You know, and people will miss that. I heard him speaking about the Luo community today, and I came to learn some of the things that I did not even know, as I'm one person who tries to look at my background and know all these stories. But today when he spoke, and I say, even like the journalist from the Luo nation should sit down with Baba, and Baba should tell them, and they write those things. It can help also to shape our history, yeah, and make us think. And maybe to just by the way, um, um, Mato, you asked me about what I'm coming out with. You know, I told you it's about transactional, and that's why you don't get good leaders. You know, because the leaders that are coming in, you know, they have money, they buy the leadership, yeah, you know. So when they go there, the next thing that they will do, they will make sure that they recover the money that they used in campaigns. You see that? Yeah. So instead of working for the people, they're trying to get what they used during the campaigns. Yeah. And even like some legislation, because this is I'm with you. Yeah. You know, have you ever thought even like about CDF? The other time you saw how MPs were behaving, they were saying the children wants to go to school, and they're waiting for those CDF. But if you sit down and look at how they disburse that CDF, do you know there are some students that even get 2,000 Kenya shillings for CDF, and somebody's having like a 10,000 balance in school? So tell me, if you give somebody 2,000, surely, what impact is it going to play on that passion education? What impact? You know, if they know the CDF is for school fee, then let them bring a legislation, so that we know, we pass a legislation in parliament, that every student, every Kenyan child who is going to high school, the legislation is passed, the money will be sent to school directly. Then people will go to school. Or let us just reason. You know, if somebody tells you they're going to give the CDF monies for school fee, but we know how that money sometimes is being disbursed, you know, it you know,
But
let us
Brother
just be,
Benson,
yeah.
can I just, sorry, wacha nikutege kwa hiyo story ya CDF. Do you understand that that money is always stolen? And I know this is an international TV, but yes, mimi nilipata 100K for when I came wherever I live in. I only got it for 1 month. I mean, one semester. When I went back home after a year, guess what? The money nilikuwa naambiwa imelipwa. And then, I went there to, imelipwa. But where is it at? Haiko. Mimi naweza sema mtu akitaka, I mean, we can go. 3 years yangu ililipwa, lakini ililipwa semester gani? One. So niambie hiyo 100k ingine 300k ilikuwa inaenda wapi? And who knows, hata maybe hadi wa leo inalipagwa. You see what I'm saying? Me, I'm telling you, 300k gone that was supposed to be paid for me. Gone. Couldn't find it. And this is true story. I can back it up in court. Sorry. Unmute. Atukuski, bro.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's some of the things that we should interrogate. We should even interrogate our political parties. You know, those were even like we have so many messes in those political parties. You know, as much as we might say that we are in a world of democracy, when it comes to political parties, they're not, because the political parties should not be individualized. But when you look at our political parties, they are not kind of like institutions that they should be, you know, because take, for example, somebody is vying for a nomination is done. We are in a nomination period. Let me tell you, somebody is vying. The person who is vying is the chair of that sub-county and is vying, which means, and he is the person who has the say on who should be given the ticket. How can that one be? How can that one be? Then if you're messing on the grassroots, then we come to the national level. How sure are we that the national level is going to be okay? Yeah, Zero.
Let me chip in on that valuable thing you are talking about. Number one, where our politics is not working. Let me chip in on that valuable thing you are talking about. Number one, where our politics is not working. Let me chip in on that valuable thing you are talking about. Nana Jamut. Number one, where our politics is not working. Let me chip in on that valuable thing you are talking about. Nana Jamut. Oh, yeah, it was Rara. Anyway, what I want to add value on that important issue you have brought, where our politics is getting it wrong. Number one, our political parties are not citizen funded, meaning that if political parties are not citizen funded, they cannot be accountable to us. For example, what prevents us coming up with a policy as a country now, if we are serious and selfless? What prevents us from coming up with a policy whereby we say political parties will never be financed by the government, but the members of that political party can come up with a concept of financing their own political party, and they can also go ahead and also come up with a concept of also determining who is to become. Like, for example, aspirants are the ones who give money. I'm giving a typical case of Kenya. Aspirants, do you know, like if you want to vie for governor, you have to pay ODM maybe 1 million. You have to pay Jubilee 1 million if you want to vie for governorship. Like, where is the participation of Wajiko in Kenyan politics? Na huyu Wajiko again anangojea politician akuje amulipe, amufinance. So the whole scenario of how we conduct our politics, it's a sham. Like we are pretending to be a democracy, but ours cannot be defined. Like, for example, like, tell me, what do you call that scenario whereby the person who is vying, he has to tell people to queue ili awape so mbili ama 50 bob. 1 minute bwana Kenyan with love, nimekuja tu sahi, nilikuwa nimemute. So utaongea. So what I'm trying to explain here, bwana studio man Benson, it's very simple. our politics cannot be defined. Number one, the Kenyan citizen does not own the politics. I speak with the Americans, Democrats, and the Republicans, and the level at which these people own these political parties, you will understand the reason why these people have engraved their. You see, we have to begin by owning these political parties. ODM does not belong to Raila Odinga. Jubilee does not belong to Uhuru. How can we take these political parties to people and we empower people through their own resources? But this idea, personally, I'm always against of this idea whereby the government has to finance political parties. We are spending taxpayers' money in the wrong way. Those political parties will never do anything. Let the citizens do it.
You know, I normally have to respect everybody that is on the show. So nikinua mkono, I'm just asking, you know, normally we tunainuanga mkono. But let me say something. Lala, I know you're Lala, you're watching from two devices. It's giving a feedback. There you go. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, mtanichapa leo after what I'm about to say. Na mimi nachapa kama kamenuka kanuke. Poleni. Ladies and gentlemen, the only thing we lack in Kenya is a civil war. The day Kenya will go to a civil war is the day Kenya will become a sovereign country. Moi messed us up. He never gave us a civil war. We did not know. We thought we were going to be a peaceful country. 24 years, he led us na vitu zake na zenye alitufanya. Akatuweka bila civil war. The moment we understand that you can actually fight because ya vitu za ujinga is the moment we will understand what country we have. Most of the countries that have gone through a civil war, one of them being the US. Najua mtanichapa, nimewambia najua mtanichapa. Nipatieni tu, wacha nimalize ndio kichapo ikuje. Ile siku watu watajua wanaweza gongana na wanaweza ngungutana.
Hatuwezi chapa mtoto.
No, ndio sasa mtajua kuna mtoto na kuna mama na kuna nini, wekeni hiyo kando. The day that we go to a civil war in Kenya, that is the day Kenya will change. Saizi unajua inakuwaga kelele, tutapiga hapa kelele 5 years, tumebakisha 4 years. Tutapiga hapa hivi kelele ndio huyo. Tomboya, sijui nani aliuliwa, sijui nani alifanyika nini, ndio hiyo, imeisha hivyo. You know what? To prove to you, I'm telling you, you have to go to a civil war. Kama mnataka tuende hivyo, either tukubaliane ama tuende civil war. Na katauma na kakinukaga hivyo. Here, let me, this was for you, Brother Benson. Ndio mwingine.
From years of colonial rule, local politics was slowly taking shape. The country's leadership that had fought so hard to get rid of the colonial masters was split into two. Those who strongly believed in working for millions poor Kenyans, and those who were seen to have merely taken over from where the white rulers had left off and consolidated their grip on power. In the city's Westlands area, an affluent suburb, lived the family of Piogama Pinto, a Kenyan of Goan extraction. Pinto was described as a quiet man, a shrewd politician, and a close associate of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga at the time, Kenya's first vice president. In the central business district, quite different from the contemporary city that Nairobi is today, lived a young man, Kisilu Mutua. Mutu, at the time 21 years old, ran a successful manual job of selling fresh produce. The city had very few people. Kenya was a young nation, just 2 years old.
Nilikuwa na mkokoteni yangu mbili na kila saa 10 ya usiku nilikuwa nikiamuka na kwenda nachukua mkokoteni yangu, ilikuwa ikikaa pale. Hii soko mnaita KCPU, siku hizo tulikuwa tukiita missing line. Kuna muhindi alikuwa na aliitwa kufatanisha na hiyo jina. Kukipambasuka kabisa ndio natoa mkokoteni yangu, kijana yangu anachukua yake, anateremsha, na mimi nachukua yangu, teremka huko pande ya Limawe, tunazungusha. Saa 6 ndio nilikuwa nikimaliza kazi yangu. Mpaka saa 10 ndio nitaamuka niende missing line kwenda kupata mboga nyingine fresh ndio niweze kuzungusha.
On the other side of town, Pio Gama Pinto was a perfect family man, most of the time dropping off his wife to work in the morning, at the time a private secretary to a popular politician, heading back home before leaving for work. His house servants describe Pinto as a dad who loved to drive from his basement parking with his 18-month-old daughter, drop her off outside his main gate before heading to work. Pinto at the time was a member of parliament. But that dramatically changed on the 24th of February 1965. Pinto had dropped off his wife at work, drove home in his white sub-motor vehicle, had breakfast, picked up his 18-month-old baby, placed her at the back of the car, and drove to the main gate. Pinto did not have a chance to say goodbye to his daughter.
Okay.
Ongea dadi, mimi nakwambia hii kitu lazima tuende civil war ndio tujue venye ya kupigana kwanza, cause hizi vitu zimefanyika. I know Njiro ameniambia niche zingine hapo hivi, lakini look for it kabla niipate.
Okay.
But for that one,
Kenyan with love, nimekutumia kakitu hapo pia tuchezee hiyo. I want to speak of that.
Okay, but if you know, I've read about Pinto Gama, and I'd love his kind of politics. And if you look at the politics of Pinto Gama, politics of JM Karaoke, politics even of Wangari Maathai, it was nation-centered. It was not individualism kind of politics. It was a politics that could that Kenya could move together, you know. But like people who had selfish interest, you know, made him go. But the worst part of it, they went for a guy who was just struggling to make a life, to be like to somebody who assassinated him. So that's how sometimes life is, you know, like the Mkokoteni guy, you know. So sometimes I usually, Mato, that's why nilikuambia ubaki kwa studio. Sometimes we need to reflect back on some of the history of our country, and it will tell you how, as a country, that how our leadership have really messed us. Not even Kenyans, the leadership itself, you know. The leaders that we had that were laying foundation for Kenya, you know, then when Kenya was still young, you know, they were wiped out of the system, and the people who came were cartels, you know. So that's where we are today, you know. If people like Pinto Gama could have been there, JM Karaoke, Tom Mboya, you know, what country will we be having? You know, we could be having, like right now, we could be having one of the best country, maybe in East Africa, even in the world, if we had those leaders. But as fate was, they're all gone, and they're gone with all their visions. Nobody is even trying to bring back those visions. Everybody is like tenderpreneur, money, how will I get rich quick? You know, it's so sad.
and I agree with you, sir. I really Benson, I really agree with you, because I think I don't know if people really go back and really look at our history. You know, our history, where we come in politically. And Jiru, I have your video here, but that's more on medical. I've seen that video earlier. I don't know if you wanted me to play it, but I don't know how it relates to this. Uh,
It has a lot of substance. There is something usiseme you don't know how it relates to this. I know what I mean nikisema hivyo, but then when it's sawa, it's at your will.
No, I'll play it. I'll play it. Let's just finish the political part and then we go to that. I'll play it. I'll play it. I promise you. So, Brother Benson, what I'm trying to say is that when you look at the political journey that we've had, and that is why I was saying maybe we really need to go to a civil war. I don't know what you think about that when I say that we really need to go to a civil war. Moi a little cushion out of that. Some political guys were killed. Today we have people who are being threatened, the Okiya Mtatas of today. We have even the Bunge la Mwananchi guys being threatened today. People that have channels like yours wanting to be threatened and everything. We've had the biggest economies of the world. They've had to go to civil war. And Moi protected us from that. How about we just go to civil war? You know, Sudan went to civil war. They decided, you know what, hatuwezi ishi pamoja, nyi kaeni saidi yenyu, pia si tukae saidi yetu. We'll do our thing, nyi fanyeni kivyenyu. And they respect each other. Because just the way I was asking, Mr. Bro, Bro Benson, I was asking, and I asked Jiro here.
I don't think we need to go to civil war. What we need to do, what we need to do as the voters, we need to come to realization that everything stops with us. You know, and if everything stops with us, then we have to start listening to ourselves and say, what do we want? Yeah, what do we want as a country? You know, run away from the tribal kind of politics, voting of voting with emotions. You know, if we can reach that point, then it will be okay. But if we the voters,
but Mr. Benson, that's what I'm saying. If we want to be tribal, let's be tribal. Mkikuyu akae kwao, Mkamba akae kwao, Mkale akae kwao. Tufanye nini mpaka tukubaliane ni nani anaweza na kwa wengine? Because at this point I think we are just missing the country, because now, like I said, nilisema hapa tupewe 10 tribes zenye zishaichagua uchaguzi. Hakuna mtu agesema, yet we say we have 46 or 47 tribes. So si tuende kivyetu, kila mtu akae kivyao kwanza for now mpaka tukubaliane. I'm not suggesting watu wamenikujia hapa. Leo nimeasha shida. Okay.
Macho.
Yeah.
Kupigana ni sawa, lakini tukipigana hakutakuwa na Kenya. Hiyo unajua kabisa. Kenya
kama hakuna Kenya, sasa kwa nini kukuwe na Kenya yenye tunakaliwa?
Kwa sababu kutakuwa na Haiti. Okay.
Manake no, mapolisi mumepeleka Haiti, nyie ndeni mkakae Haiti. Sisi tuko huku tutangungutana.
That's what they call poetic justice. That's exactly where we are going. Just like we are Shakahola now. You know, sometimes something happens that demonstrates, showing exactly where you're going. So kupigana, actually, Kenya, I believe God loves us very much because we have something to help us get back on track. We have an election that we know